Joe Root, Harry Brook and Mark Wood have signed 3-year deals as part of England awarding multi-year central contracts for the first time. Joss Butler, Johnny Bairstow have agreed 2-year deals, but the Test captain Ben Stokes has only signed for 1 year. As has the veteran Jimmy Anderson. The fast bowler Jofra Archer, despite his injury issues, and the spinner Adil Rashid, they're among those on 2-year deals. Spinner Ren Ahmed, pace bowlers Gus Atkinson, Bryden Cast, Matthew Potts, Josh Tongue, and the batsman Ben Duckett have signed their first England contracts, all on 2-year deals. And also on 2-year deals, the Test opener Zach Crawley, the batsman Ollie Pope, the all-rounders Sam Curran, Liam Livingston and Chris Wokes. Now the wicketkeeper Ben Foakes, who was dropped for the Ashes series in the summer, all-rounder Moeen Ali, spinner Jack Leach, batsman David Milan and bowlers Ollie Robinson and Reece Topley joined Stokes and Anderson on 1-year contracts. Interestingly, Saqib Mahmood is out with a second back stress fracture in 2 years. The Hampshire seamer John Turner and the Yorkshire fast bowler Matthew Fisher have been given development contracts. So, the managing director for England Cricket, Rob Key, has been speaking. He's over in Bangalore, where England are preparing for their critical match against Sri Lanka that I mentioned on Thursday, with England finding themselves bottom of the table.
I always think sport's pretty simple, really. You either play well enough or you don't, and I don't think with bat or ball we've maximised our potential in any way, to be honest, as yet. We've got good players, some of the best players in the world, some of the best players we've had in this format, and we probably just haven't played well enough by any stretch. And along the way it's not an easy place to make decisions here. You're thinking about you're thinking about lots of different things. You got pitches where 350 might get chased 1 or 2 down, and then you got another pitch where 230 is a good enough score. So it's not always simple. At times we've probably focused a bit too much on other things like that, like conditions, rather than what we do well. And we just need to find form pretty quickly, to say the least.
Yeah. People are giving lots of different opinions on what has gone wrong. Some people saying neglected 50 over cricket. Some people are saying that the schedule is wrong, the international schedule, the domestic schedule. What do you put it down to? Are you saying that you think it's more a fact that these players just haven't played well while they've been here, rather than the schedule being wrong or neglecting cricket? 50 over cricket?
No, I think that there's a difference in terminology, really. You think people talk about neglecting 50 over cricket. We haven't. The schedule is put in front of us, and we try and make the most of it as best we can. Like, for example, in the winter we had a series, the last 50 over series before the summer was in Bangladesh, and that started the day after a test series in New Zealand. So there's no way in the world you could get your test players like Joe Root, like Ben Stokes, to get over and come and play in that series in Bangladesh. And that happened quite a lot for the last year. Some of it was COVID catch-up, but we don't neglect it. We actually play well, I thought, against New Zealand, who are actually doing very well in this series. We beat them in home conditions. We've probably been caught out by conditions here in India. In the perfect world, if you told me what's your best preparation for this, I'd have said, you know what, we'll come out here 2 or 3 weeks before the tournament begins, get used to conditions, but that's in our summer. We had games to play because England men's cricket does so much for the rest of the game, whether it's broadcast deals, whether it's all these grounds in county cricket relying on England games being played throughout the summer at their venue to make sure they can actually survive, and that then sometimes gets in the way of what would be classed as high performance or what we would like to do. But we have no issue with that. We understand that it's not a simple world we live in.
You've announced some new central contracts today, some that are multi-year deals, some that are 3-year deals, some that are 2-year deals, and some that are 1-year deals. Can you just explain the thinking behind the multi-year deals?
Well, we're at a time where there's a lot of opportunities for players now, and we've all been sort of second guessing for a long time, or certainly for the last year or so since I've been in this job. When's the first year-round deal? When is someone going to choose playing for a franchise over their country? And what the multi-year deals have actually done is it's got our best players to commit to English cricket for the foreseeable future. Obviously, different players for different times, and that's a fantastic thing. So for the next bit of time, we know that our best players are committed to English cricket. They're not going to, and that means, in a lot of these worlds, and fair play to them, because some of them are probably signing more money in signing for more money in franchise cricket, but we're the ones who are going to have the control. So it doesn't matter whether you get paid more in the IPL than you do for your England contract. We're the ones in control, and we can dictate what you do. Now, that doesn't mean, though, that we're now going to go, right, none of you can play franchise cricket. We live in a world where it's not about, for us to succeed, franchise cricket has to lose, because that won't happen. We will end up losing and franchise cricket will succeed. So we're in a middle ground where we're working with franchise cricket to make sure that our players can earn the money they can potentially earn out there, get the experience, because we've benefited from it in white ball cricket, maybe not so far in this competition. So that middle ground is the future, really, and that's where we're at, albeit we've got control of our best players.
One of those players is Ben Stokes, and we understand that he was offered a 3-year deal but has only signed a 1-year deal. Can you just explain what has gone on there?
Yeah, so in the simplest terms, because this sort of complicated, I found it complicated and I live it every day. So we've done all of this stuff, multi-year deals, we've added more money to the pot. We've done that a year early in effect. So the contract system follows the broadcast cycle, and the next broadcast cycle starts next year. So in essence, to make any changes, really you're meant to do that next year. And you can show, we have a point scoring system at the moment. That's how we work out what people are worth. That might change, you never know. Ben Stokes, like people do when they have an offer of a long-term contract, it's that trade of security over a stronger negotiating position. And Ben quite rightly feels that actually, do you know what, when the next MOU starts, when the contract cycle changes, he'll be in a stronger position. Other players have gone for that security. By no means is it Ben Stokes thinking, I don't want to play for England. All he talks about is completely committed to playing, to representing his country, but also captaining that test team. You know, we're planning for India, planning for the Ashes, planning for Pakistan, planning for West Indies, Sri Lanka next summer. I don't think it's even crossed his mind not playing for England for the next 4, 5, 6 years.
Well, that's Rob Key discussing and explaining the England contracts, as well as obviously reflecting on England's position in this tournament, which is bottom. And he's there for that very important game on Thursday against Sri Lanka. So Steve Finn's alongside me. I mean, first of all, let's start with his sort of defence about 50 overs cricket, shall we? And I mean, there is some sympathy to be had, and there is some COVID catch-up that they were having. That Bangladesh series was literally the day after the Test series finished in New Zealand. I mean, this is just a sort of a ramming full of the international calendar, which is a topic I think everyone understands and appreciates, even if they don't agree with it these days. It is difficult to fit all this in, but it does seem to me that every country actually is in the same boat with 50 overs cricket. It's not just England who haven't played very much 50 overs cricket. It's everybody hasn't played very much 50 overs cricket.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way, doesn't it? And I think the disadvantage that we have compared to other international countries is the fact that we're in the northern hemisphere, so our season is different to them, and being able to find windows within that to travel to places to field your best 50 over team, which when I look at this World Cup and England's build up to it, the first time that combination of 11 players took the field together within this cycle was in that first game of the World Cup, and that isn't going to serve you well when you're going into a major tournament guessing still about who is in your best 11 players. In the build-up to the 2019 World Cup, I think England played more than double the amount of cricket that they played in the build-up to this one, and a majority of that would have been with the combination of players that they ended up using throughout that tournament. So I think that's the first thing to talk about, and I don't envy the way that they have to juggle that international schedule and the condensing of it because of COVID with franchise leagues, which again is sort of the monster under the bed when it comes to trying to juggle players' priorities between bilateral 50 over cricket and the build up to a World Cup and franchise cricket, and keeping those players happy, which maybe, and by the sounds of it, the interesting thing that Rod Key spoke about there was the control element of it. Yes. Because by signing 2 or 3 year contracts, if you're still just going to let the player go and play franchise cricket whenever they want and not be available for bilateral event, then you're going to find yourself at the next World Cup in the same position of not having played that combination of players again. So the control for me was the most important thing. If England do retain some degree of control, it means that they might be able to plan better in the build-up to the next World Tournament to make sure that they're not left shortchanged when it comes to playing in it like they have been here.
I mean, I'm sure they'll still want these players to go play in the IPL, or at least part of it, because that's a big learning process.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? And I can't believe that many of these players would have signed these contracts if they were prevented from.
No.
You know, someone like Jofra Archer, you know, he's not going to sign a 2-year contract to stop him from playing white ball cricket, is he? And the others who all named in there. It'd be really interesting. I don't think we'll ever get to see one of these contracts. No. it'll just come out as it progresses, won't it? But the interesting one for me is Mark Wood. 3 years. I know he wanted that, and not for white ball. This is to try and preserve him for Test cricket, isn't it?
Yep.
I don't know how many Test matches they'll get out of Mark in a year, a typical year. But as we saw in the Ashes, you know, when he's playing and is fit, he's a very positive impact. So it does seem as if they've won that little bit of a battle there. He was talking about going and playing franchise cricket, but I think he's also been lured to this 3-year deal.
Yeah, well, there was talk, wasn't there, of him missing this India Test series after Christmas to go and play in that IL T20 in Dubai, which isn't even official cricket. It doesn't go on your record. So to miss Test matches to play that, even though it's for an astronomical amount of money, you know, it doesn't quite seem right. So if this 3-year contract gives the ECB the control to say, no, you're going to be playing, or you're going to be available for all 5 Test matches in India, where we will need pace and England will need to be able to break partnerships through those overs when the ball's potentially reverse swinging, and he's the main person to do that, because do we see Jofra Archer playing another Test match? I don't know, but the 3 years, that one and Stokes were the 2 anomalies for the lengths of them, but for differing reasons.
Very interesting, and I suspect there'll be more of that to come out in the wash. But anyway, that's come from Bangalore.